D'Angelo Cole, and this is my video presentation for week 2, November 2015 of Advanced Visual Frameworks. This week we were expanding upon our weather application and using local storage. And starting out with everything, of course, we check to see if it's online, and if it's not online, then we alert our user that they need to check their settings. And we can require the read function from our local storage, and pull it in from there. Same thing as last week. Get our geolocation and put our latitude and longitudes in there, so that it will definitely find out where our device is. And pretty much the same thing for our API, where we would get all the API data we wanted. We had to do 15 this time around, so we wanted to make sure that we required and got all of our data that we wanted to do. And local storage part. This kind of part broke it down into two parts for me. First part, when we had our local storage function, where we had to get our database, we had to open it, give it a name, and execute the database and create a table if it didn't exist, and put in our primary key and everything from our SQL statements. I pulled in the city, the temperature, the fields, like the icon description, the icon pic, so on and so forth. And then we wanted to execute, where we insert everything into that table, the same values that we wanted to go into it, such as the city, the temperature, and everything. We'll make sure we had to put it in where it was clean, and it wouldn't. You can see the question marks right there for the values, and then that way, we put in all of our values from that point in to our columns that we want for our SQL statement. Of course, we had to close it out. And then I required the read function, and in my read function here, we go in and we create the read function. We open the database once again, and just in case it hasn't been created before, we execute or create, where we create the table all over again, and then we execute what we want to select. I chose to write everything out instead of select star from our table, from the table that I created. So that way, make sure we're getting everything, and we push it into the table data that I created, and we then pushed it all. Once we close it out, close the database out again, and then we'll close the info rows. Well, for me, select statement, and then we close out our database again. One thing I was trying to do was I did some reading, and come to find out that you can't really design for both Android and iOS. So what I did was create a if statement inside of the read function. If the platform is Android, then pull over the Android module and send the table data into that. And if it's an iOS, well, else of course it'll be iOS, then we will send it over to the iOS module. And this is where I have my iOS module. And that's the function where we create the window. I created some views for everything. Created where I pulled in. The tricky part was trying to figure out how to pull the data out of the table. And being that it was an array, I tried a bunch of things and spent all day trying to figure out how to pull the data from the array into it, and iterated, did a for loop, and none of that really worked until I put in the actual index of 0 dot whatever I wanted to pull out. So if it was the city, it would be the weather table. What my name was, weather table data index of 0 and the city, and it would then return what I wanted it to return. I spent a lot of time trying to figure that thing out, and once I finally got it, it was just a matter of building the UI out. I didn't get a chance to really build on the Android platform, but I did do it on my iPad. So we can run it, and we can see how it looks. It's pretty cool to get everything situated. I wish I would have figured the whole index part out earlier, but I spent a lot of time trying to get a clear understanding on what to do and how to pull the data out of that. But now that I know, it's something that will definitely work from here on out, as I never will make that mistake again with that. And we get these. And now that it's installed, we will try to pull it up on our iPad. And as you can see with it, it's installed there. We click it and we get this view of what it's supposed to look like on here. And that's where our weather. The only thing I couldn't figure out is the decimal points on our SQL statement. As you can see, with the feels like it has a bunch of decimal points afterwards. So I couldn't really get a grasp in trying to change that one around, but I'll do some more research. If anyone knows, please let me know. I couldn't get it to run on Android because of the variations and the dimensions were a little bit too big and didn't have a chance to really do that. But I know that it will definitely work because I tried it and I get a error code on there. As you can see, when I try to run it on my Android device, oh wow, never saw that one before. I don't know why it's not connecting to my Android device now. But you see right here, it has invalid dimensions and makes them undefined, meaning that the data was too large and the dimensions weren't right to be able to pull in. So there it is, my look of my new weather app for week 2.